Because think of a doubt or a judgment, that's a cognitive thing. So I have the thought, I'm not a good pianist, let's say.
Right.
That thought shows up in my physical body. So maybe my shoulders lift up. Maybe my jaw clenches. Maybe I feel like a fist in my solar plexus, right? Or I don't breathe as deeply. And that's exactly what the whole study of somatics is. It's like, how is your thinking? How are your beliefs?
All right, welcome to the Healing Law Podcast. I'm your host, Douglas, and today we have Luis Mojica of holisticlifenavigation.com, it's a somatic healing network. He's the author of Food Therapy, Conscious Eating to Navigate Anxiety, Stress, and Trauma. How you doing today, Mom?
Hey, my friend, I'm good. Nice to be with you. I was saying you're an old friend from the past. It was good to see your face.
Yeah, man. It's great to reconnect with you, and especially when I started doing this podcast and I saw you on Instagram, I was like, oh my God, how amazing would it be to have him on to talk about.
Absolutely.
And you're here today, man. I'm grateful to have you on. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Would you want to start by sharing a bit about your background and your book and what inspired you to get to this point where you wrote this book, the Food Therapy, Conscious Eating to Navigate Anxiety, Stress, and Trauma?
Yeah, I had a lot of childhood trauma growing up, and it expressed itself through massive amounts of anxiety and insomnia. And the way that I quelled that anxiety as a kid was by overeating. So I would just binge eat constantly to try to numb out the anxiety that was coming up. And that turned into chronic illness because the food I was binging on was ultra processed, so it made me very sick. So I grew up with a lot of illness, a lot of overwhelm, a lot of anxiety and emotional, physical pain. And then I had this beautiful experience where I discovered music and that I could make it. I didn't know I had music in me. And the moment I started making music, it was my entire life transformed. I was 15 and I just felt completely enlivened and alleviated from this whole burden of pain. I felt in love with everything. And that drove me into food. It kind of led to this realization of, oh, what I'm eating becomes my body, which isn't what I ever thought of growing up. So I started eating different foods and eating differently, and then my body completely started transforming. And then I went to school for psychology, but dropped out to study nutrition because I found nutrition was like this fast track to helping people find balance instead of being in therapy for decades. And so I worked as a nutritionist for a long time. I met you when I was working as a nutritionist in town. And then I would say maybe 8 years into a deep private practice up here, I started studying trauma and getting trained in somatic experiencing because I'd noticed that trauma was driving a lot of food habits. And I got really curious about that connection. So by the time I wrote this book for Hay House, I realized there was this correlation between food and trauma, stress, and anxiety that people weren't really talking very much about. So I went to teach it.
Awesome. Yeah, because one of the first questions I actually wrote, I didn't know about your music background.
You went off.
It might be a little delayed. It'll cut out. And I'll cut it all out.
Can you hear me?
Yes. There's probably a little bit of a delay. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
There may be a bit of a delay, but it's recording from both sides. You still can't hear me?
I think there might be a connection issue. I'm not sure.
It's like, you can't hear me at all?
But now you're back.
Can you hear me now? In this moment?
Now you're good.
Okay.
Yep.
So it might reconnect and disconnect. If you can hear me, it's fine. We can continue the conversation. I'll edit that out easily with AI. The way it makes it so easy. I don't know if you've used this stuff, but
no,
it'll be like, you should cut this part. It just knows already to cut it.
Great. Okay, cool.
So we can just continue. If it ever is like, it's recording from both sides too, so the lag doesn't show as long as we can hear each other. We cut out those parts.
Okay, you got it, my friend.
And so what I was saying in response to you is I never knew about your music background. And one of the first questions I wrote about, because somatics is kind of new to me, and I get it, it's kind of like energy in the body and the way it moves. So kind of a deeper question I was wondering about was like, is it tied into like music and somatics? Because explain to me what somatics is for people who don't know. Let's start there.
Absolutely. Somatics is just a term that means body-centered. So if you think about going to therapy or counseling or coaching, a lot of healing work involves your mind. You're thinking about things, you're telling stories about the past, you're trying to identify and understand things cognitively. But somatics are about feeling where those things live in you. So I could tell you about the kids that bullied me in seventh grade over and over and over and over and over again. But until I actually feel where I still hold, constrict those experiences where they live in me, I don't get to them on a body level, which is why people go to therapy for many years and they understand themselves better than ever. But their body and their habits and their behaviors, their addictions, they stay the same because it's all still living in the body. So a somatic therapist or anyone trained in somatic techniques, or really what we're trained in doing, is getting a sense of when someone's talking about something, where's it showing up physically? And then from there, different practices, ways to release that so the body isn't holding it. So that's really what it means when we're talking about somatics. And music is extremely somatic. You know, anyone that listens to music, anyone that plays it, anyone that's ever been to a sound healing or a gong bath, you feel so much in your body. It takes you right into your bones. And I think that's why I had such a profound healing when I discovered music, because as I was playing it, it was coming from my body. It was like my body was writing the songs.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, music is pretty. I just recently, like maybe I'd say 3 or 4 years ago, realized I could make music. It's taken me
Yeah.
forever to get that confidence. It's weird with me. It took me forever. I've been playing guitar forever, and I'm like, it's such a long process for me there.
No, it was for me too, actually. I had years and years and years where I called myself a closet musician, where I never told anyone that I made music. I had a piano, I had a guitar, I kind of liked fiddling on them, but I
Yeah.
had written like 150 songs and told
Holy
nobody.
cow!
Yeah. So it was years and years and years for me as well. So I can relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like unless you have someone to train you how to get out of it, you learn it at a young age. You have the right teacher, like to help you get over it. Like, I don't
Hmm.
know. Even if I did, I don't know if the right teacher, because it's probably my own the way that I grew up, my own traumas or whatever that I was holding on to. Because for me, it's like this constant battle of doubt, trying to enter your mind and like try and convince you that you don't know how to play.
Yep.
Like, and you don't know what you're
Oh yeah.
doing, and you can't do it the way that other. It's like that's the.
Yeah.
So would you say those kind of doubts are like often somatic, or would they be they're held in the body, or do you think that there's like a energetic wave, like a emotional like connection, maybe at a deeper level that
I mean, the way
I
you
don't
even
know. I
said
don't want
that,
to say spiritual. I don't want to twist it too much, but what?
I know. I think you're right on when you said, "Are those doubts held in the body?" That's the important
Mm,
piece, because think of a doubt or a judgment. That's a cognitive thing. So I have the thought, "I'm not a good pianist." Let's say that thought shows up in my physical body. So maybe my shoulders lift up, maybe my jaw clenches, maybe I feel like a fist in my solar plexus, right? Or I don't breathe as deeply. And that's exactly what the whole study of somatics is. It's like, how is your thinking? How are your beliefs? How are your expectations or judgments? How are they literally affecting your posture and how you breathe and move? And that's why music to me is so somatic, because when I'm just in my body, I play so beautifully and I'm so connected. When I go to my mind, I lose it. You know, it's such a I'm sure you felt that too. It's a visceral bodily thing. It doesn't involve the mind very much, actually, unless you're reading music if you're classically trained. But someone like me who intuitively writes things, it's just my body flowing with whatever energy or emotions there.
right. The mind will overcomplicate it, and yeah, it very much is a body thing. Yeah, interesting that way. Hmm. I didn't mean to make the whole thing about music. Now that we're out, I'm like, huh.
I don't mind. You can do you can make it whatever you want. I'll follow you.
Yeah, definitely an interesting topic.
I mean, it
But
was literally my breakthrough. If I didn't have music, I wouldn't be here talking to you. So I have a lot of reference for it.
yeah, huh. I'll have to consider that more when I play about the somatics of it. Now that you told me more about what it is,
Yeah. See what
I'll
it feels
report
like.
back to you what I learned
Yeah,
about that.
notice your breathing, notice your shoulders, like really get a sense of what's my body doing. It can be pretty amazing.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I'll definitely look deeper into that. What's your favorite instrument to play now? And
Piano.
piano? Yeah. Piano and guitar.
Piano lets me,
Flip back
well,
and
I
forth.
play guitar too, but piano gives
Yeah.
me the most depth, like emotionally. I can hit so many things with it that I feel more limited on the guitar.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the sound, yeah, the way it is, it just hits the perfect note every time. It's pretty cool like that. You don't worry
You have
about
to send me
making the
the,
note.
yeah, exactly. They're all there for you.
Yeah.
And I like
It's
to
half
do
the
this. My
fun.
my fingers, it feels just good to play it. But you should send
Yeah,
me some of your music.
you
I'd
get
love to
more
hear it.
body movement in it too, because the guitar is like very limited in the body movement, whereas like
Oh yeah, a
it's like
lot of body movement with piano. I have to like jump sometimes when I'm playing it because it's so much energy comes through.
that's awesome, man. I
But I
said,
don't know if you're
let's get.
hearing me, but
Oh,
I would love to hear your music at some point. You send it to me.
okay. I'll have to start recording more. I do hear you.
Yeah, record something.
I will. All right. It's been a goal of mine. I've recorded one song ever that I put out. No,
I would
it
love to
was
hear that. That's
all
good.
right. I'll find it. Let's see. It was like a music video compilation. It's a long story about uh, this. I don't know if you know Made by Jim Bob, the cartoonist.
No.
You've seen his cartoons before. He's like this cartoonist, and Owen Benjamin's this comedian who's a pianist. And the only song I ever put out, I put out because I was trolling Jim Bob. Really, it was part of
Oh,
it.
so it was a troll song,
Well, no, it was
trolling
just
song, a diss
he just
track.
tied into. It was a whole panel verse thing. It's too much to get into. Let's get in your book, man. Food therapy. So your book? You have all these life experiences. And you wrote this book. So you want to share with us about the book and why you wrote this book specifically, and what that specific perspective is that it offers that people would find there.
Yeah, I mean, I've done so much work in mental health spaces, and the rhetoric around, regulating your nervous system or healing trauma or managing stress, it all has so much to do with the mind, or it has to do with meditation, which is the mind, or it has to do with yoga, or it has to do with breath work or going to therapy, and all that's great. But in these spaces, I never hear anyone talk about food. And all the books I read about healing trauma, they never talk about food. One of the most prominent trauma healing books that I read when I was studying literally had one sentence that said, "And nutrition is a big part of the equation." And that was it. And so I kind of was getting tired of reading these books that were just saying the same thing, but there was nothing about one of the most common rituals every day, which is eating something. So I started doing a bunch of research, and I learned that certain foods can literally increase your fight or flight hormones, and other foods can lower that. And when I was looking into that, I thought, well, that's phenomenal to know, because most people's issues are coming from excess adrenaline. So if someone's overwhelmed or has anxiety or insomnia, or they're quick to rage, depression, all those things, these are coming from being in fight or flight, which is made from producing too much adrenaline. So if you can eat foods that increase or decrease that, you literally have a key to creating peace inside of your body or creating stress. So that was really the premise that I was going into this book writing from. And by doing so, I discovered there's kind of three main categories foods fall into. And this work, I actually developed this work from working with people in addiction recovery. And these categories were stimulants, depressants, and balancers. And just like in a hard drug, it's a stimulant or it's a depressant. Well, same thing with food. I could drink, I could snort Coke and it'd be a massive stimulant, or I could drink Coca-Cola or drink coffee. It's a stimulant, right? I could take heroin, or I could use heroin or painkillers, and there's a massive depressant numbing quality. I could eat a ton of cheese and pasta and fried food, and I'll have the same experience. Now, much less is less potent, but it's giving me the same effect of lowering me or raising me up. And that's where I started looking at food through that lens instead of healthy, because I was looking at food through a health lens for most of my life and career. But through this trauma lens, it's more, well, people are using foods to amp themselves up or depress themselves down. And then there's these foods we avoid that are balancing, where they don't really do that. They just nourish us. So that's the framework I'm working with in the book.
It's interesting that because you're talking about, most people do focus on the spiritual healing aspect or the mind healing, but so you're saying trauma is stored in the body, and that was one of the first things I realized too when I started to look towards natural health. I'm like, nobody's talking about the food you eat every day and this and that, but you're talking about how it specifically can help you alleviate trauma and stress in your book. That's kind of what you cover in there, in the foods that help with
Exactly.
balance out.
Before I wrote the book, I spent about 8 years really practicing this with clients and students that I was teaching. Try this for breakfast instead of this. Try this for lunch. Let's see what happens here. And I would see, within hours, it wasn't even weeks, but within hours, people were reporting less anxiety and deeper sleep and more joy. And oh my gosh, I could be with my kids without yelling at them. All these whole shifts because their stress level was just coming down, right? And seeing food through that lens is so much more intuitive because everyone, you can read so many papers and scientific studies about health. Like this food does this food does this. Everyone's body will still have a unique response. It doesn't work for everybody. But everyone listening here can ask themselves, if I was completely exhausted and had to wake up and go to work, what would I eat or drink? They can ask themselves, if I was so amped up from the day and it's midnight and I have to wake up in 4 hours and I'm not tired, but I need to fall asleep, what would I eat or drink? Everyone has their thing they go to. That's their stimulant or their depressant. So I like to teach it that way so people can do it themselves and not have to rely on an expert.
Right. It's like a huge shift in medicine that I think is coming around. Is it to turn away from experts and it's about the individual knowing more about their own health? It's kind of the shift that I'm seeing, thankfully, take over. Do you think that that's becoming more prevalent in society?
I really do. I think what I love about, and this is why I wrote the book too, what I like about somatics really gives you your own inner authority back because your body becomes the barometer, right? Like I can go eat a certain breakfast that an expert says will help me feel less anxious. But my body will tell me in 30 minutes or so how I'm feeling. I'll eat it. Am I feeling less anxious or not? So if you learn how to actually embody what you're eating, you don't need the, authority of someone outside of you. Your body's literally showing you the impact pretty quickly. So yeah, I do see that trend emerging.
I definitely had that a few times where I guess the most significant effect I noticed on my sleep was that when I was laying in bed a couple times, I would close my eyes, but my thoughts were like really dark and they wouldn't let me sleep. And then I went and ate spinach, like raw spinach, a few times. And within like 10, 15 minutes, I was just able to like fall asleep. I don't know what it was about the spinach that would like just allowed me to get out of that space during that time. It's a couple times.
What made you eat that? Was it an instinct? What made you eat raw spinach out of everything?
Yeah, I think it was just like, I just really want like just raw spinach. I just say like,
love that. Well, raw spinach is a balancer. So it actually soothes the nervous system and supports the body. So your body was speaking pretty accurately.
Yeah, I know I tried that a few times. Maybe an apple maybe seems like it would have done the same thing. I think that maybe I was eating too much wheat or something at this time. Like just like 3 loaves of bread or something ridiculous,
Yeah, we'll do it. That was so like whenever you eat bread, another big part of this work is understanding glucose. So glucose is the sugar in the blood from food. And when you eat bread or crackers or pasta, anything made from flour, even though there's no added sugar, it's a savory meal or a savory food, it turns into sugar in 10, 15 minutes after you eat it. So every loaf of bread you eat is literally turning into sugar and then increasing glucose. And when you have a big spike in your glucose, you'll also then have the fight or flight response. So it's a main reason why people get really anxious and irritated, aggravated, and even can't sleep at night because they're eating foods that spike their glucose.
I've had that a few times where I noticed that eating too much bread definitely had that effect on me. But I'm talking about ate a lot.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Ridiculous amount.
Especially a lot. We'll do it too. I mean, 3 loaves, that's definitely a good amount.
It was like, I mean, maybe 3 is a little exact, but it would be like 2. I eat at least 2. Get some butter on there. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. Very, very easy to do.
Oh, yeah. Such a neat, yeah. Let me throw like a little curveball here. What do you think about like the impact of like the technology? We have AI and the cell phones. Do these things impact like the body's like somatic like system?
Certainly. Yeah, certainly. Especially screens more than anything. Screens are so interesting. There's a couple layers to it. One layer is when you're looking at a smartphone, you're looking at a computer screen, it's emitting what's called blue light. And it's the specific kind of frequency of light that the sun emits. So when you're looking at a screen in the evening, especially, your brain isn't getting the cues that it's dark outside. And you need those early cues when the sun starts setting, your body starts making melatonin as the sun is setting. So a couple hours before bed, your body starts preparing for sleep. The majority of people are in the habit of looking at their phones until they fall asleep. So you're not getting that signal to the brain saying, hey, let's start preparing. And that's why you turn off the phone and you lay there for hours, because now you have to start the cycle last minute, when it's already dark and you're ready for bed. So that's one way it affects us. But in a big way it affects us is isolation. People are way more isolated than they've ever been because they can just whip out their phone and have this big dopamine response. And that completely affects how you uh, let's say, connect with the real material world around you, because real life starts to pale in comparison because life on the screen is way more dopamine rich for your brain. So the addictive quality, the blue light, the isolation, all that has massive effects on the body. And I should also add, all that together tends to throw us into what's called a freeze response, which is when the body starts bracing and you get really overwhelmed and lose motivation and even feel a little depressed. Because when you're sitting there taking in really exciting imagery or even violent imagery, it's creating this big response to your nervous system, but you're not moving it, you're not doing anything with it, you're just sitting there scrolling. So after a while, you get so overwhelmed, your body starts going into shutdown. And I think it's one of the main reasons why there's more depression than there used to be.
Yeah, I used to have a lot of that, like I guess you'd say freeze response, where it was like, what, like there's nothing to do, like I, whatever it is, like there's nothing that would be effective. What do you suggest to people who find themselves in that, where they feel that they're in a depressed state and they don't even know what the next move to make is? They get this freeze response coming down to them. Like, what's the most common ways to break out of that?
Well, so there's in the book, I have a bunch of somatic practices in the beginning, and one of them is a practice called moving through numbness. And it's specific practice that you take a pillow, you sit up, you have your feet flat on the ground, you press a pillow into your chest and belly and just give it a little pressure. And you look around the room, you take some breaths, you take in some pleasant things. That can help move the body through a freeze response. But the nutrition actually can do that as well, because most people that live in that freeze response, they deeply depend on stimulants, because stimulants help them create some kind of motivation to go to work, to make art, to move, to raise their kids. All these tasks that seem impossible are possible when you're chugging coffee and sugar and any kind of like sodas and such. So the dependence on stimulants help you move through the freeze, but then they also cause burnout because of how they affect your adrenals. So when you start implementing in the food, I have in the book, I have a protocol called the quiet diet. And it's really the slow protocol that everyone can do their own way. It's not like rigid or anything. You just use whatever guideline works for you. But the protocol is designed to help bring in more balancing foods and bring down your stress response. And the moment you start doing that, it will start being easier to come out of the freeze as well.
Yeah, I would assume for me, especially, it was like to get out of that state because it was, probably years where I felt that way. It's like I had to build up to where I'd find my own independent motivation to do things,
Yeah, that's right.
And it was like a continual process, though. It was like, not one thing for me. It took a lot. Like, it was like part of the music is like, how much it took me to get through that. It was like the same thing, like a continual process.
Well, it is literally, it's meant to be a continual process. So there's these two terms, active dopamine and passive dopamine. Dopamine is like your motivation molecule. So when you think, I'm going to go for a hike today, and you start getting your boots and you start packing snacks for the hike, you start kind of getting prepared. In that moment of just preparing for the hike, you're making dopamine, small amounts that are kind of saying, yes, keep going, keep going, keep going. Then you're hiking, keep going, then you reach the top and you have these like wonderful moments of accomplishment. You feel good. It's hours and hours and hours to get to that accomplishment place, from the moment of wanting to hike to the moment of getting to the top of the mountain. So that's active dopamine. Like, you have to do something consistently to create it. Passive dopamine largely comes from ultra-processed foods and screens. So this is another part of your screen question. When you're looking at a screen, you're sitting there doing nothing, but you're getting all this dopamine. So it's an instantaneous gratification. You don't have to really do any movement or physical work for. And the same thing happens with ultra-processed foods. If I'm eating potato chips, ice cream, coffee, chocolate, I'm getting all this dopamine without doing anything. So then we start getting very addicted to those things because they give us instant dopamine without having to work for it, which makes working for it even more difficult because we're so used to getting it right away. So it is a continual process because we're actually designed to continuously work for dopamine, but these new technologies and foods actually interrupt that.
Right. And it almost seems like it's intentional at some point, the way that these foods are released to the public and keep people in a certain state of mind. I mean, the reasons behind that I don't want to get into, but definitely something to it seems to be.
The foods are literally, and I write about this in the book, those ultra-processed foods are literally designed by drug companies. So when you actually track the finances and the companies that make these foods, like the companies that make Oreos and Nabisco and certain products for kids, Pop Tarts, they're literally owned by companies that were once tobacco companies. So these are billion-dollar companies that know how to addict people. So to me, it's
Right.
very obvious.
Right. It's insane.
Yeah, it's
Where do
nuts.
people find your book at?
Right now, it's anywhere. If you type in food therapy online or you go to a local bookstore, you can ask for it. A lot of libraries have it. And there's an audio book. So if people don't want the physical book, they can just listen to it too.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations on that, dude. That's
Thank you.
amazing.
I never saw it coming. I feel really honored to have one.
When did you publish it?
April, just a few
Okay,
months ago.
great. Wow. That's awesome, dude. All right, so we have a sponsor here. So I do this segment every time. Have you ever heard of fulvic acid?
Oh, yeah.
Like FULVIC, that one?
Oh, yeah.
Not the. Oh, yeah. Like Shilajit and all that?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're sponsored by American Grit Fulvic Acid here, which is my fulvic acid company that I started.
Awesome. I didn't hear that.
I got back to this podcast to kind of like, I was like, oh, I can push this, do that. Like, because there's, the podcast about natural health. Boom.
Yeah.
I'll get you a bottle.
Do it.
For sure.
I would love that.
I got it in a couple stores around here, but this is like like, have you looked into the fake, the amounts of fulvic acid in the claims and Shilajit and stuff?
No, have not.
Because with this company, the way that I found this whole product, they had hired me years ago when I lived here many years ago, 8 years ago, 9 years ago. They hired me to do this like side-by-side tomato growth test with fulvic acid, their product. And I learned all about it, and theirs was 35%. And which is like the highest, it was the highest in the world, like unless you standardize it more. And which some fulvic acid does. Some companies do this, but this company was pushing these TikToks where they're saying it was 75% fulvic acid. But natural Shilajit, like Shilajit, has like at most 15%, like naturally. So when
So the one you have is double?
This isn't Shilajit. Yeah, it's 35%. It's fulvic acid. Like a slight, it comes from a different form.
And what does that do for you? What are the benefits?
Energy. I think that it helps clean the energetic pathways in the body is my experience. Like at a cellular level, it hydrates the cells. It helps pull, does all kinds of stuff. You can look fulvic acid does incredible things about detoxification and all this. But at the deeper level, I think that it helps energetic pathways to improve energy. I don't even take it every day anymore, but my energy's definitely improved overall about what it was before I started taking it. And one of these companies was 75% fulvic, and we tested it. It was 6%. So I knew that they were lying, which was kind of like, yeah.
That's a huge lie.
That's kind of the inspiration for me starting that.
Yeah. Good for you.
I'll get you some. If I see
I'd love to try it. Never tried it.
Oh, it's good stuff. Well, you probably don't need it though. You're so balanced. I
feel pretty good, but I'm not opposed to trying something.
Yeah. Well, you'll probably be really fun. I'd love your feedback.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I found that improved my energy level went up after 2 weeks considerably. There's probably better ways to do it though. Your way is probably the better way to do it.
What I was going to say is I have my energy. I am so lucky how much energy I have. And it's not like my energy used to crash a lot. It'd be like, bam, bam. But in the last 5 years, the more I understand about food and the more I'm playing with it, it's like so incredible. It's just like, unless I'm traveling or if I eat something strange, it will shift, but it's pretty consistent. Like today, I feel so just like.
It's awesome.
Very nice. Yeah,
it shows, dude. Every time I see you, you're just like, in the same space pretty much. Me, nice I'm kind of I'm a little hyper.
Are you? See, I wouldn't say that about you because every time I've seen you or spoken to you, you seem so chill and easy to be around. I haven't experienced the hyperness.
Freaking depends. Oh man. So I don't know. Thematics. I had a joke that I wrote that you fit right in on this podcast because there's some addicts that listen to this show.
Oh yeah, I got some addicts out there.
What do you think? Like, what does somatics teach people about addiction? Like overcoming that? Like, let's focus on
Oof,
addiction
so
for like a
much.
moment with somatic.
So much. My work with addiction became so effective when I understood somatics and nutrition, actually, because so you might have heard people use the term like I'm getting triggered or it triggered me. And when someone says triggered, what's really happening in the body is there's this huge burst of adrenaline. And then all this energy in the nervous system, just that kind of rush feeling, that heat sensation of anxiety or panic or overwhelm. The number one reason why anyone uses something or relapses after recovery is because they were triggered. Someone died, someone broke up with them, they lost their job, like they had some triggering event that created that dysregulation. And all addiction is trying to find safety in something outside of yourself. So when your body is really overwhelmed and you don't know how to be with that, and then you find, heroin or you find opiates or you find, tobacco or alcohol, you find this thing that changes your state. And that's what everyone's going for. It's the same thing with food. You're looking for a state change. You're grieving, you eat 4 slices of pizza. You eat 2 loaves of bread with butter. Like you have these experiences where you eat something and it just transforms how you feel. So when people start applying somatic techniques to their dysregulation and with their own hands and their own breath and their own consciousness are able to shift the body without the food or the drugs, those things become obsolete. You don't have addictions anymore the same way you would before. So to me, somatics, I don't know how else to really recover from something without bringing in the body.
No, I expect you're putting it in the body. I mean, it very much has to do with your body.
That's right. It's your body. Yeah.
I know you got a hard time out here, and I'm gonna put some thought into this music and somatic relationship. I'm gonna meditate on that, and I'm gonna record some music. I'll get you some. It's
I
been a
can't wait
goal
to
of
hear
mine.
it.
Like recently, I've been like, I gotta record.
Yeah. You make me very happy because you symbolize an era of our town that I loved so much, and it's kind of gone for the time being. And so when I see your face and your eyes, it brings me back there, and it just brings me a lot of joy. So thank you.
It's awesome. I love seeing you around too, man. It's great to see you again, and hopefully I'll see you around soon. I'll get you some fulvic acid soon. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, send me an email. My team will give you my info. Just ask for it, and then we can connect.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, we'll definitely be in touch. Is there anything else you want to get to? Anything else comes to mind?
No, I would just say buy the book, take your time with it, see where it takes you. And my website's holisticlifenavigation.com. People can go there and there's events and resources and other things there.
In that book, one more time, is Food Therapy, Conscious Eating to Navigate Anxiety, Stress, and Trauma. Available pretty much everywhere. Even in libraries, dude. Congratulations.
Even in libraries. And I'm so happy about that. It's free.
Wow. It's pretty epic. But anyhow, this has been the Healing Law Podcast. This has been Luis Mojica. You can find him on Holistic Life Navigation and find his book anywhere. And until next time, y'all, be well. Take care now.